Should be broadcasting now. This is TJ with Smokescreen Design. Haven't really been around for a while. Should be broadcasting now. Just had to turn my audio off, so that way we don't get any sort of audio loop coming back through. Haven't used Google Hangout in a while, so there's some updates and some different things that I had to get prepared to get it to work. And let's try stopping that, and we'll see if we can get that to stop looping through. Let's see. Pull this back up. So basically, just wanted to just talk about flat Earth propaganda, and I've sort of talked about this before, and so I've noticed there's a lot of new people that are realizing a lot of the things that are being shared, a lot of the information out there, not really trusting people, the prominent flat earthers, just the people that are out there in the forefront that's sharing information. So a lot of people are beginning to not trust them, while there are plenty of people who will still follow them no matter what. And so as Nathan says, let's hope you have something interesting to share. For some people, it'll probably be interesting. For others, may not really be, may not be much, may not really care to hear about it. So it really depends on the listener, where they're at. And so just, I mean, I don't really have a whole lot to share. So we'll definitely, leave it up to each person. And propaganda usually has a negative spin on it. Propaganda is usually finding a way to manipulate people to change the way they think about something, change the way they believe something. And it's generally used in a way that, or thought of in a way that it's the government trying to change people's perspective. For example, United States going to war with another country. It could be Nazi Germany trying to change the way people think about things. It could be papers, leaflets. At one time, they would drop leaflets from planes over an area to share information to try to sway people. Maybe try to overthrow a leader, so put out a lot of bad information about the leader, maybe pictures and things like that. But here at the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, we've got definition of propaganda. There's two of them that I just want to point out here. You have the spreading of ideas, information, or rumor for the purpose of helping or injuring an institution, a cause, or a person. We also have ideas, facts, or allegations spread deliberately to further one's cause or to damage an opposing cause. So that's what I'm going with as far as what propaganda is, as far as the definition. And so I just want to make sure that I can be heard. So we got a couple people in chat. Just want to make sure so that way I'm not talking to myself and no one else is hearing me. So you can only hear things in and out, or what are we saying? So we'll just wait and see, just to make sure. All right, sounds fine to me. Okay. Yeah. So so just So Dave, he just joined in, and just all I'm doing, Dave, is just kind of, there's a lot of new people around, and just seeing a lot of people just becoming disillusioned, just not really liking a lot of the things happening around with flat Earth. And so my perspective on just things that have been going on, and this isn't for everyone, because I know Dave Murphy, he was involved in an experiment that took place. I don't remember if it was this year. It was 2015. Kind of lose track of time. And they're doing a laser experiment over a lake, trying to detect curvature. And when the flat Earth situation, the flat Earth revival, the awakening, whatever you want to label it, began, it was a lot about doing experiments and thinking about things in a new way, but it also was about sharing information too, trying to get other people to jump on board and see the flat Earth. And so there was a lot of information that was shared, and there were, experiments people were doing, and some of it was basically propaganda, trying to get people to be swayed to the belief of flat Earth. And there were people that were purposely sharing things that weren't factual, so they weren't true about flat Earth, just because they wanted people to look at it. So that's basically goes back to our definition of propaganda. Sharing something that, even though it's known to not be factual, known to not be true, but it helps the cause to get people to look into the flat Earth. So just kind of going over a little bit before, back in January of this year, 2016, I did a video about flat Earth disinfotainment agents. Just, sharing things like this picture, an exaggeration of what someone is going to see, because we know people aren't that tall, ships aren't that tall. It was used for effect, but I don't think it really helps, just because we need to have things that we can actually that show more reality. Another thing that that kind of fits in this, and this is old, I don't really see it as much anymore, but back in 2015 there was this plane that was said to have left. Here, let me pull up this one. So there's this article that said the plane left Bali and went to Los Angeles, and it was diverted to Alaska because this Taiwanese woman was giving birth to a child, and so this was a big uproar that this proved the flat Earth. And so people said if it went from Bali to LA, that it doesn't make sense. So here's Bali over here on the left, and went to LA would go straight over Hawaii, so it doesn't make sense that they would go to Alaska. And so the problem with that is, if you actually, people did not read the article, but when you actually read the article, not just the headline, you see that the plane actually took off from Taiwan. Whether it went from Bali to Taiwan or left straight from Taiwan, I don't know, but the plane, the last stop was Taiwan, which Taiwan is up here. And so one of the things about this is that I made this video, people didn't research it really, they just saw another video being made, or they saw the article on Heart. They had to be the first person to come out, make a video, because they wanted to be first. So one of the battles we deal with in this whole arena is ego. People, they want to be the first, they want to be out there for fame. So that's the other thing, they want fame, they want to be the popular one. And then of course it's money. People, some people, they have it in the forefront of their agenda is to make money off all of this. So they had no problem saying that this flight went straight from Indonesia and was heading straight across Hawaii over to California, while at the same time, which not as many people, I don't think they're saying this, but they could be, while at the same time saying, you can't have a flight from South America to Australia. And if you look at both of these, it's not that much of a difference as far as distance. Now this is the Mercator map, and yeah, it's not really accurate or distorted, but if you look, I mean, there's not a whole lot of difference between Australia, South America, and Indonesia and California. So part of the propaganda was, on one hand, saying there can't be any direct flights from South America to Australia, it's too far, but Indonesia to California, oh, that's not a problem at all, that can happen. And that flight happened and it proved flat Earth, which no, it didn't. And so I did approach some people who were sharing that, some prominent people, just saying, hey, you're wrong. I made this video long before they made theirs, saying, hey, it really doesn't prove a flat Earth. It can happen on either one. So when you see information out there that's being shared, it may or may not be accurate. And so what happens with the propaganda is that if it's not accurate, it's not factual, people, they will share it. They will share it with their friends, share it with their families, and then if people really look into it and they see, oh yeah, this isn't really factual, it's not even true, so what you're trying to say proves the flat Earth, it actually doesn't. It does not prove the flat Earth. And then eventually, when people seriously start looking at the information that's being shared, they start finding out that all the things they believe that prove the flat Earth actually don't, because it was just disinformation. And so coming out of the gate back in early 2015, I mean, there was a lot of disinformation that was shared that came through Mark Sargent. Unfortunately, a lot of people came across him first coming into Flat Earth and saw the clues, which I remember hearing some people talk about that some time ago and saying a lot of the Flat Earth clues have been disproven. And there are plenty of people around that started out believing the propaganda, the disinformation, and they thought it was factual and found out it's not factual, so their belief in the flat Earth fell apart. So that's kind of just, I don't know, I wanted to kind of jump out and just talk a little bit about this kind of thing, because there's a lot of people coming out now. They're starting hangouts, and they're talking about just the disinformation, the propaganda, and then of course there's always the Flat Earth reality TV show with all the drama and the relationships and all the situations, and these people are CIA agents and this and that. But that's just such a mess. And if people try to come out like myself trying to show the lies and the things being told by other people, then you've got the flat earth drones that come around and start making accusations saying, oh, you must be working for CIA, or you got paid off, or just all this like BS crap. Like, they can't really think for themselves. They it's like, you have to go with the program. You have to do everything to support what anybody shares or says about flat earth. If you disprove it, trying to be factual and saying, hey, no, this isn't true, now you're like the enemy in the flat earth camps. And yeah, it's ridiculous, unfortunately. And it seems that what everyone has been against, so they've been against the lies of the government, they've been against the lies of the science or pseudoscience community, they've been against the lies of NASA and the space industry, because they just say things, they don't prove things, and they expect people to believe it. But then that's exactly the same thing that's happening around, truthers and people who are spreading the flat Earth or other other theories, other information, other propaganda, disinfo. People just expect it. Well, you just have to believe it because I said it. Like someone says that, oh look, here's pictures and video of Mars rovers in Greenland. Oh, that proves Mars is being filmed in Greenland. Well, no, it doesn't prove that. It proves that there is vehicles that say Mars and there's rovers in Greenland. Doesn't prove that they're being filmed there. It's a possibility. But then people start sharing that as, oh, this is proof the Earth is flat. And so that's just, there's stuff out there. And so one of my things is that, and it's always, I don't want to say always been, because I started out getting into the emotionalism of fat Earth. It's not the fat Earth, because that's what we have been waiting to see if the Earth is really fat or not. But with the flat Earth being factual, if there are theories, fine. There's theories. Theories are good. Theories are good to explore and to put out there, but when theories are shown to be are being pushed as being factual when they're not, then it's harmful. It's not good at all. And the science community has a lot of theories, a lot of disinformation that they are spreading as factual. And so with the I call it a flat Earth community. I don't know if it's really a flat Earth community. It seems to be all split up and divided. But we can't be against something and then just do exactly what they do, because then how are we any different than anybody else? How are we different than the people we're against and the reasons that we're against them? So initially, getting into the emotionalism, it was about, sharing things that we discovered and saying, oh, look, this proves flat Earth. And then coming around and like, okay, so we're doing experiments and really getting into the science, because when you've got the disinfo, I mean, it's can't, it's pseudo, it's pseudo discoveries. So that's just my call, that we can do experiments, which I've seen a lot of experiments done, visual experiments, which those are challenging. And I think it's a Rendra, RENDRA, Rendra AZ has shown refraction, as well as Dr. Zek has shown refraction, and how that really creates illusions that we see in the skies. And I know that's a big thing, where there are these phenomenons that happen in the sky, which I'm really fascinated by. And a lot of people will say, well, this or that will prove the globe or will prove the flat Earth. I haven't really seen anything. I don't want to say anything. I haven't seen too many of those where it actually proves things either way. And so my thing is that the main focus, which I know people are doing a lot of experiments. I saw Political Hillbilly doing things with the eclipse right now. So that's some fascinating things. I like watching Political Hillbilly, just seeing all the math and measurements and things that he brings in. But focusing on proving, which can be difficult, proving whether the Earth is flat, whether there's curve or not. Because if it can be proven that everyone can accept, which seems to be impossible, that yes, the Earth is flat, or yes, the Earth is a globe and there's curve, then what happens in the sky is a side effect of that, saying, well, if the Earth is flat, we've all seen that there's no curve, then how can these things happen in the sky? So people say, well, these things happen in the sky, so the Earth is round. But then let's see curve. And because I know Red's Rhetoric, he has shown his videos of where objects are hidden in the distance because of what he claims is curve, and other people show objects in the distance where they're not hidden. And then people say, well, I think that the Earth is actually bigger than what people say, so then that makes the 8 inches per mile squared, that doesn't make it accurate. It would actually be less curvature over the distance. Which then goes back to, you know, having to be able to prove that. So there's got to be some sort of curvature that can be measured. And I like to, I haven't seen a political hillbilly talk about it for a while, but it's using the elevation to show whether there's curve. So if the Earth is the size that they say it is, there has to be 8 inches of curve in a mile. If there is not 8 inches of curve in a mile, there is no curvature. There is none. And so that, while being a quite difficult experiment, because you have to be able to measure level over 1 mile and be able to detect 8-inch drop. So maybe that's possible to do, but that's something that seems to be a lot simpler to do than trying to measure over 8 miles, you know, the longer distance, because then trying to get level over that distance is harder. But then you can also look at, well, what about half a mile, and how much drop of curvature is there? And I forget what it is. I think it may have been like supposed to be like 2 inches. And so just looking at the chat here, which I assume everyone can see the chat because I'm just showing the chat when everybody's what Nathan and Issa or Isa, not sure what your name is. Just so people can see, because there are some people who will talk about the chats, but then you can never really see what's being said and can't really follow it. Yeah, and I know, Nathan, like you bring out water. I mean, water is a big thing, and there are people who will take, you know, a small ball that you can fit in the palm of your hand and show, well, look, water sticks to the edge of this ball, and this is just a smaller scale of what the Earth is. And the small scale, especially with the ball and water, it's kind of a mind trick too. Because if you think of a small ball with water that's on the outside of it, that you're like, well, I guess a ball can hold water. But then we're talking about tons of gallons of water that's being held to the Earth while it spins. So even if a small ball has a rotation of once a day, but as soon as you expand that ball, you make it bigger and bigger, the speed gets faster and faster. I mean, around 1,000 miles an hour around the equator, I mean, that's pretty fast. Even if it's just one rotation a day, it's still fast. It's still, I mean, I still think about just seeing things flying off. And then they talk about, well, gravity pulls things in and all mass has gravity. But so, I mean, how many people think about that with mass having gravity? Like, there's never, I never see anything orbiting anything else on Earth. I don't see If I drop an object, I don't see things orbit around my body. I don't see things orbit around cars or rocks or trees, or we don't see any of these things that I would expect, and maybe there's some reasonable explanation for this. And you say, well, the Earth's force is stronger than these other masses, so it would automatically pull it, which, possible. But then why wouldn't that mass pull that object in towards itself while it's falling? So we can think of the same thing as the moon that orbits around the Earth, and why it can't get pulled away towards the sun, since the sun is much larger. And if it can control and pull the Earth, I remember hearing some people talk about that. So why can't the moon get pulled away then, since that would be a stronger gravitational force? But I know they got all the math figured out. So they got all this stuff just completely figured out. All the reasons, all the science behind them to back them up, saying, yeah, you're just an idiot. You're just simple-minded. You're just not educated to really be able to understand this. So what's you're mentioning about free chan light. I don't know what free chan light is. You have to tell me what that is. I'll close out some of these other tabs I have going on. So if you want to know about that that baby that was born, the Taiwan baby, how that doesn't prove flat Earth, actually proves neither the Earth is flat or round. Make sure you check out that video on smokescreen design. Oh, right. Yeah, so dark matter. Yeah, I heard a little bit about that. How they had to create dark matter because there are things that they couldn't improve. But isn't it dark matter? Isn't that mass that hides the sun during an eclipse? Of course, joking around. Oh, YouTube channel's called Free Chan Light. Okay, y'all have to look that up. Let's see. Free Chan. Okay, so they've got this now. So I'll just go ahead and click on subscribe. No orbit, no ISS, no curves detected. Okay. All right. So I just subscribed. I mean, there's a lot of people that I'm not subscribed to. So yeah, I'm always discovering more people. And for in case anyone's wondered, I mean, for the last year or so, I've just been crazy busy. Try to just kind of keep up with what's happening and seeing experiments and everything. And so Matt asked, doesn't gyros kind of prove a flat surface? So that's I mean, it's definitely something that people have been talking about. People, I've been discussing, and it seems so for sure. But then people, if you think about over a mile, so there's 8 inches. That's a drop, not too big, not too significant. And you think about an airplane being roughly up 5 miles high, and they're traveling 500, 600 miles an hour. So they're traveling over land pretty fast. And so, I mean, that's a claim that a lot of people have made, is that the gyro really wouldn't work on the globe. And there are people who say, well, it would, because it's such a small drop and curve over a mile. And Yeah, so it's hard to really experiment with things, and that's kind of part of the problem that we deal with, is that how can you replicate any of the things on the ball Earth? So if the ball Earth pulls objects, keeps it to where it can be level even though it's dropping in curvature, how can we test that over a ball? Well, first of all, we can't have a ball, we can't have a test object ball with gravity. So I haven't seen that, unless someone knows something that where there are balls that you can get that has gravity, and then you can play with those and test them to see how it works. So that's an issue with trying to experiment on things to really prove things. So that's part of the issue is, can we get a ball that spins, that has gravity, pulls in towards it, and we can cover it with water? I remember one thing that was mentioned at some time, maybe it was a conversation with my wife, and I don't remember, but if you have an Earth, and I'm pretty sure this was discussed a long time ago by some others, that if you have an Earth that's spinning, and you have one side of the Earth that has no land, while the other side has all the land, I mean, doesn't it kind of make the Earth a little lopsided and should kind of have a wobble? To me, it makes sense. And doesn't it mean that maybe the Earth, the land would shift? So definitely seems plausible. So there's a lot of plausible things when it comes down to the ball Earth and things that happen versus globe Earth. I like the video at Mountain of Evidence. That guy went through and really documented everything that he was doing, and just showing that the mountains in the back should be hidden, but they were very visible. So Nathan was saying that there's an answer for, I'm assuming it's the land masses on Earth that don't cause any sort of wobble, the tectonics. Assuming that's what you're talking about. This whole journey with learning about the flat Earth has been really fascinating for me, and I think for all of us. Going from a place of no way, there can never, the Earth isn't flat. I remember when I was much younger, it was probably 20, 25 years ago, and I had this memory of going outside, of walking outside of my um, front door of the house and just kind of looking outside. Now, where I live, there's a lot of trees and things, so can't really see far to the horizon. And I remember thinking, the Earth looks around to me, but not really having anything to really base that off of. And I don't remember what caused me to think that or go outside. And when the flat Earth discussion started back in early 2015, there weren't that many videos out, so it was easy to find the flat Earth videos from like the 80s and 90s. They were on talk shows discussing the flat Earth. So when you see the Illuminati card, the game card, and it says flat earthers know something, people think, oh, see, the game predicted the flat earthers, they're going to start You know, they're going to have this big revival thing. See, we knew it was all set up. But the problem with that is that the flat earthers, they were on TV back in the 80s and 90s on talk shows. So that game card doesn't prove anything. That game card came out when the flat earthers they had a prominent place, even though they were mocked and made fun of. They had a prominent place and they were on TV. So that Illuminati game card really doesn't have anything to do with what's happening today. Unless they can prove otherwise. My thought is that, some Illuminati game cards, yeah, there were some things like the Twin Towers situation, which that's not the first time the Twin Towers have been attacked, but the first time they were attacked like that. Yeah, so there's definitely some things with the Illuminati game cards where it's like, wow, that's really interesting seeing how that played out. And then some people think that, like, there's the Illuminati game card. Let me see if I can find it. They say that it's Alex Jones and Ron Paul. Let's see if I can find that one. So, like I mentioned about this one, the Pentagon and the Twin Towers. Yeah, that's really fascinating to be able to see that, because there wasn't an attack on Twin Towers like that, and I don't know if any on the Pentagon was like that. Now, keep in mind, while this Pentagon Illuminati game card, yeah, shows that there's some sort of thing happening or attack, but there was nothing that blew up in the center of the Pentagon like that. So yeah, it's not exactly accurate, but we'll give it to them. Let me see if I can find some of these ones I'm talking about. Where are you? Maybe I should search for something different. Illuminati game card, and we've got, if someone has tagged it. Oh, like this one here. So people say, oh, look at that. That's Alex Jones, and that's Ron Paul. Well, maybe that's Rush Limbaugh. Maybe it's not Alex Jones and Ron Paul. Maybe it's Rush Limbaugh and someone else that's tied with him. So that's why I'm just pointing out that depending on how you look at it, that it can kind of be created to what you want it to be. So people will take this like, oh, the Illuminati game card, look at that flat Earth. Yeah, so this is just a psyop, but then they'll ignore the NASA one, or some people will use both of them. So the flat earthers, like I said, they were prominent. They were on TV. They were on talk shows. So that was, the videos are hard to find now because I wanted to see them. And it was mostly the Flat Earth Society. If you know anything about the Flat Earth Society, they kind of get the limelight even today when it comes to the flat Earth. All right, see ya, Nathan. Nathan is leaving. He's got stuff to do. Yeah, so we were talking about just flat Earth, and I kind of lost my train of thought saying bye to Nathan here. So like I said, I'm not able to find those videos. They're a lot harder to find now because there's so many videos out there that are tagged with flat Earth, and some of them are about flat Earth, some are about whatever. People just want to pollute the either pollute the search terms for flat Earth or take advantage of the flat Earth keyword for whatever they are sharing. But the Flat Earth Society, they are just people keep showing up. So I do want to say hello to everyone. I know I saw Patricia and GeoShifter, and we got I'm not sure. I don't know Mark Taylor or Isel or J39, but hello everyone coming to the chat. Flat Earth Society, that's a prominent group. Whenever someone tries to say things about Flat Earth or debunk Flat Earth, there's a recent one. They always go to the Flat Earth Society, get the most ridiculous claims out there. And I was talking about this too. When I first, someone was sharing the Flat Earth last year, so actually a friend of mine mocking it on Facebook. I looked at it and I laughed. I was like, I can't believe people believe in the Flat Earth. And let's see. And so I said, why do people believe the Earth is flat? Oh, hey, ODD. Yeah, and I see you here. Just been kind of just chatting and just talking about different things. I know ODD, he's kind of, we're on kind of the same path, just, discussing Flat Earth and getting away from all the disinfo and things like that. Chuck Frank, he talked about Flat Earth. So when my friend shared Flat Earth, my thought was, why are they believing in this Flat Earth? We're a child. We're taught that the Earth is a globe, and only idiots believed in the Flat Earth because they were afraid they were going to fall over the edge, and Columbus proved them wrong. Columbus was going to prove that you could sail around the Earth and it had to be in the globe. Now, I don't know if that was really Columbus's thought. Was his thought really that he was going to prove that it was a globe? We've been taught that. It could just be propaganda that we're being fed, and it's likely that's exactly what it was, just propaganda. To not even look into it. I don't remember, and I know most other people also, when we were in school, that you could actually prove that there's curvature, and how to see that, how to know the distance, 8 inches per mile squared. So whenever you hear flat Earth, you automatically go back to childhood and think you have to be an idiot to think that the Earth is flat because you're going to fall off the edge. As soon as people hear flat Earth, one of the very first things they say is, everybody knows, where's the edge? But whoever said that there is an edge? I'm not saying that it's the never-ending land, because we don't know, but we've been pre-programmed to think that there's an edge, the water goes over the edge, and you can fall off the edge. So we're pre-programmed to think these things. So this is the Chuck Frank. No one's probably seen this, but I'm on lists where I get a variety of information. So basically he talks about centuries ago, people believed that the Earth was flat. And if a ship was to sail across the ocean blue, it would fall off the edge and be lost in space forever. That was a consensus of numerous people in those centuries past that predated the first coming of Jesus Christ. And if you want to find this, just search Chuck Frank flat Earth or whatever, or why the Earth is flat. So he says there's a group today that still stands on the old assumption that the Earth is flat, and it goes by the name of the Flat Earth Research Society of America. So here we go. People, as soon as they find out about the flat Earth and they're trying to debunk it, they find the Flat Earth Society and pull up their information. The most recent yet absurd world model is that humanity lives on a disk with the North Pole at its center, while a 150-foot, 45 meters high wall of ice at Antarctica rests at the outer edges. The map shown resembles the symbol of the United Nations, which Charles K. Johnson, the deceased president of the society, used in the above photo as evidence for his position, stating that the Earth is not a round globe but a flat object. To this day, succeeding presidents of the society have held on to the same belief, concluding that the Earth is actually likened to a frisbee disc floating in space. Funny. Chuck Frank, if you don't know, he's been around for quite some time and I don't know if you call him a truther, I don't know if you could call him a conspiracy theorist, but um, he's in that community, if you call it that, of just really exposing things going on and in the world and the governments and all that stuff. So he's in that circle. Now, he really went off track and really threw me off in this article. I'm just going to keep reading it because just so for the sake of the video, it's here for documentation. Similarly, today there are other institutions and organizations that hold on to newer ideas and theories, leading millions of people to believe in unproven hypothetical arguments such as evolution or man-made climate change, which approaches the flat Earth model. So now not like anyone else hasn't done it. So that started happening where now they're tying the man-made climate change propaganda with the flat Earth model, which I believe I saw something that Donald Trump just recently did that as well. Yet these findings, which bear the mark of a scientific approach, still lack concrete evidence because of the many variables involved that are necessary in any accurate equation. And even so, major flaws exist in today's climate change model to where school textbooks are already promoting these assumptions as though they were fact or theories. All the while, the data is based on pseudo-scientific evidence which has already been exposed by thousands of scientists as fully untrue, as well as being secretly altered by a select group of climatologists, which has been documented. So one of the issues with which we can all point this stuff out. So he has no problem with talking about pseudoscience, and he's going on a rant about climate change when it's supposed to be about the flat Earth. How he goes off on this rant, I don't know. So he doesn't mind calling out pseudoscience when it's climate change, but if it comes to maybe the shape of the Earth and the things we've been taught in school, like he pointed out in the beginning that you'll fall off the edge, when it comes to that, he has no problem with accepting the pseudoscience for that. Where's the scientific research proving that stuff? Where's his little research where he's done, well, I tried proving the curve and I proved it, or I wasn't able to prove it? Well, he didn't do that. Why didn't he look at some of the experiments people have been doing and have done, showing what they've come to find, and at least shown, like, there's some experiments that have been done and it's questionable. At least get to that point, say it's questionable whether it's round or it's flat, not sure. But no, didn't do that. And so I sent a response back to my friend that sent this email out and just said how Chuck failed, and just sent him some stuff. So presently, disinformation seeks to deceive and divide the youth and rock the very foundations of our country. Professors in Colorado are even on a mission. A humanities course currently taught at the University of Colorado. Colorado Springs teaches that the founding fathers were hypocrites, terrorists, and money-hungry barons who used hyperbole and fear to rile up the colonists to revolt against England. Yet in their analysis, there was no mention of the numerous grievances or the oppression of the English redcoats during the Boston Massacre on King Street 6 years before the Declaration of Independence was declared. What will universities, the UN, and governments use next to generate foreign aid? Deception, division, more taxes, higher costs of energy, and finally a plan to rule the world? Will they use plagues and overpopulation or a ploy of a different sort of manufacturing, a claim that Earth is being invaded by aliens from outer space while fake photos of UFOs are used to bring fear upon the masses in order to bring all nations together into one common bond, to where numerous international agencies will use extreme hype and bogus emergencies to further the loss of national sovereignty everywhere? All a person must do is observe how government and the mainstream media sensationalizes information while using war and the thread I don't know if that's a threat or threat of terrorism to catapult the fear factor into place. Yet the question then arises, who will benefit financially from the international plot that is widening into a global ruling behemoth? All the while, the world gravitates towards a greater and greater orchestrated Powerball meltdown. It is the billionaire elites and the likes of Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the DuPonts, George Soros, and others who are all major players and profiteers in the Game of Thrones. The world is not flat after all. It is but a global sphere akin to a tyrannical global order. So as you see, Chuck Frank wrote an article has really what have to do with the flat earth. One, to mock it, tied to climate change, and tied that the global elite are pushing pushing the flat earth. So that's an article that I came across not too long ago. Just ridiculous. It's like, why are you going to write about how the flat earth came about and not even really talk about how it came about, but talk about climate change and how that's being pushed in schools, and not even talk about the other propaganda being pushed in schools that Columbus sailed the ocean. And hey, let's forget the fact that Columbus was so sure he was going to hit India, and he didn't even get to India. I mean, he was a failure. He was going to sail around the globe and failed. He didn't make it. Because I guess there was this other continent that kind of got in the way. I don't know what happened, but then again, I don't know. Was he really trying to get to India? You know, these are things that we were told and just, you know, can be researched out to the best of our abilities. And I guess some people may even ask, was Columbus really real? Was he really sailor? Was he really in Spain? So I think one of the big things that Flat Earth coming out has done is, one is cause a lot of people to really begin to question a lot of things. And really question, I mean, reality of, you know, what is and what isn't. But then it's also, a lot of people have in their skepticism has, I don't know, I think there's a lot of stuff that's just crazy that people have been sharing. But I mean, we're all on this journey together, rediscovering our world. And I've always loved looking at the sky and the stars and just, you know, just fascinated by that. But now even more, just really paying attention to how things happen, how things work in the sky. So, and I know, you know, all of us really, we're looking at the sky, we're looking at the moon, and just with technology that's coming out, for example, the PX 900s, and people pulling out their scopes on their cameras and recording just close-ups on the moons and stars. And I mean, we're at such an amazing time right now, and technology is just getting so much better. And we have all of these things that we can see and share for ourselves without having to depend on maybe a NASA or someone in the scientific community to provide us with the pictures and the video footage. And then all across the world with Twitter and YouTube and Facebook, we can connect all around the world, and we can do hangouts and talk live to each other, see each other. I mean, it's a pretty amazing time. It's also dangerous at the same time, because the people in control, in some sense, are losing control to compartmentalize the information that's being shared to try to control people. So in some ways they're losing control. Other ways they have this this massive tool that where they can spread their disinformation as well, and to I don't want to do that, to distort the truth that's happening. So let's see, you got some P900. Let me jump over to your channel. We'll just kind of subscribe. Oh, you so you went to the I'll come back to that. So you went to the Verrazzano Bridge. Fascinating, because that's a I'm pretty sure that's the bridge where they're saying it was, they had to account for curvature and the bridge was less than a mile. And so they've got the I don't know what you call those, the towers or whatever. They have a slight lean away from each other. And this is just so amazing. I love seeing footage, and I can see these close-ups on the moon and be able to see all these craters and everything. And so it's just, I'm always wowed at this. I love seeing this stuff. And there, I know there's this discussion of where the sun gets the light from, and I know people say that it's impossible for the moon to get its light from the sun. I still haven't found enough evidence. Really, I want to say enough. I haven't seen any evidence that has proven that to me yet. One of the big things is that it's possible that the moon, if it is self-illuminating, that it has to be illuminating itself from a certain point on its, I'll say, surface, somewhere on its mass. It has to be projecting that light, because if you look at shadows, the light is coming from the front here and it's coming back. So you've got this crater, you've got the shadow on the inside, the opposite side is lit. So that shows the light source is definitely coming from this direction, and that's why I still say that however it's being lit, I still think it's being lit from the sun. I still have not seen anything that has been able to prove that otherwise. Jump back over here to chat to see kind of see what's kind of over here. Yeah, so you got the Verrazzano Bridge. And J39 said conspiracy theories like to distort reality, and that's true. While they do like to distort reality, I mean, that's kind of one of the negative sides. But I mean, on the good side, conspiracy theorists, they do have things that they expose that that accurately or close to accurately show things that are really going on. So yeah, I mean, there is the yeah, there's the two sides to that, for sure, absolutely. So you're asking about the upside down moon. It's, for me, it makes absolutely perfect sense. Let me go back here. While it's probably not the best way to show it, and what you have to do, let's see here. Now there's some things about the moon that I find fascinating, and I never knew this until people started talking about it when discussing the flat Earth. Let's see. Upside down moon. Okay. Now, as the moon travels, it rotates. So people have been, you know, they've been showing that in time lapse as it travels across the sky that it does have a rotation. Now, there have been some people who have said that depending on where they are in the Earth when the moon is seen, and I'm not saying like over on the right, to the left, or in the center, but like up and down the coast, that the moon may appear rotated differently. Now, how does the upside down moon work? Now, my assumption is that when you talk about the upside down moon, and yes, I know this is a Mercator map. It's not the flat map. It's not the globe. I understand. I know some of you people, you think you're so smart to really point this out. And I was using this one because I already had this in Photoshop, and then all I had to do was to pull in the moon. Just, it was not trying to show this accurately, but just show as an example. You just got some stupid people just. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I've got to say that just some really dumb people that post comments. So my assumption is when you talk about the upside down moon, you can see this flat Earth and southern hemisphere upside down moon where I talk about how this happens. So my assumption is, I know I keep saying this, what I think you're saying is that people up here, they see the moon and they're seeing this, but people down here will see it flipped, right? So they will see this as the moon. These people up here will, if you flip this, then they will, so they see the opposite, or it may be sort of like the mirror. So that's what I think you're asking. Now, how can this be possible? And deep inside the rabbit hole, he did a video showing this. If you take a picture of the moon, tape it to your ceiling, go in a barn, I don't know, go into some place, put it on the ceiling, and if you stand on this side of the moon and you look up, you're going to see the moon. If you move over to this side of the room and look up, you're going to see the opposite. You're not going to see the same exact thing. It's your perspective and when you're looking at it. The moon passes, and it depends on refraction and whatever is happening in the sky. Generally speaking, the moon passes between these two lines. Now, with whether it's perspective or it's refraction, you might have the sun and moon, come up here when it's rising and setting and all that. I've seen it. It's crazy, but the moon passes through here. So anybody that's going to be north of the moon is going to see it from this angle, and I assume that, I don't think this is going to work, but we'll see. So they're going to see from that direction. People south of the moon will see from that direction. It works. I tried it. Absolutely, absolutely works. So this is one of those experiments you can do yourself. Let's see, how do I hide that? Okay, there we go. You can do this experiment yourself. You can put something on the ceiling, and let me see. So you can put it on the ceiling and you can look at it. It works. I know there's some people who made a comment, said, no, this doesn't work. I'm like, yes, it does. Just do it. Stop. Okay, so you could see the arrows I drew. It's like, stop being a jackass. Just try it. So it's just perspective. It's where you're at when you're looking at the moon. And like I said, David Weiss did that experiment, and he used somebody's face, and it shows you that on one end, you go to one end of the room, you look up, you see it from the neck up. You go to the other side of the room, you look up, you see it from the head down to the neck. It's just perspective and where you're looking at. That's all that is. And so, like I said, what's your name, Jeff39, initially, gosh, keep thinking of, and so you're asking, does it match reality? Well, it does match reality. I mean, this is what science tells us, that the Earth, it passes through this area. On the flat Earth, they say it's close, and it goes around this area. So yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why it doesn't match reality. And so, like I said, as it travels, people say it's perspective or whatever, that the Earth, or not the Earth, but that the Moon rotates. I think it's clockwise. I'm fascinating about that. How the Earth and the Sun, they both rotate. And then people are saying, um, how when they see the Moon, it looks, it's rotated differently based on where they are. But if we get a lot of people that have cameras where they can take pictures of it, and get them all to take pictures at the same times and take several different pictures, it would be really cool to just kind of see how it all plays out. Oh, and that's what I was saying, is that spooky one, you brought that up about, um, on the there's a reason why southern stars rotate the other way. And I know that, I think it's Stephen Torrance. He's been doing some things. Stephen Torrance. So he's got Steve Torrance. He's got some really cool things he's doing now. He's been working on animations, just showing why things are the way they are, and it seems to be off of perspective and refraction. So if you haven't seen any of his stuff, kind of cool. Let's see, like this one. So you can see how the luminaries in the sky move around. And anyway, so cool stuff. And like Jay points out, yeah, it's important too to see, does this point to reality? Does this point to what we're actually seeing? And so that's always something important to keep in mind. So that way, we're trying to match up and line up with that. So let's see. Three-oh-one. Oh, unfortunately, this. Oh, I'm not even going to go there. Yeah, and perspective is a sharp angle. I work on a 10th floor in a building. While it's 10th floor is, it's not terribly high. I've actually worked on. I used to work on the 22nd floor, and I wish I still worked in a high rise like that. But on the 10th floor, the it's pretty amazing where I can see. Not saying that I shouldn't be able to see that, but I mean, so far I've been able to point things out that are 12 miles away, and I can see beyond them. I'm just trying to see how far I can see, and it's fascinating to see how the sky slopes down, the earth slopes up, and the horizon around, it's curved. And I can see how people can confuse the curving of the horizon that comes around with the curvature of the earth. And so one of the things that I think about in regards to that, with the curving of the horizon, is just our perspective, and that we see I believe we see slightly more than 180 degrees, and being a point in that, being a center point in that 180 plus degrees, that with our eyes, it creates that curving of the horizon. And it's fascinating because with that curving of the horizon, things just kind of, like looking at the land, looking at the trees, they all kind of merge together into what seems to be a single set of trees when they're really not. And they all just kind of curve around. So that's something that I find fascinating. And Gen 39, no one told me to not show the video. I know he's got a bunch of videos, and I didn't feel like going through and looking for it. So I mean, you can be a jackass if you want, but yeah, I have no handlers. And all that crap, really, that crap is overused and abused. Like, oh, so-and-so is this handler of this person, and that person is some CIA agent, and that person is being paid by the government. Like, it's so overused and ridiculous. I mean, we can talk about Alex Jones. We know Alex Jones makes some millions of dollars. He had his divorce documents released, so we know that he's wealthy. We know he's getting paid. We know that he says crap, and then later he retracts it. So we know that Alex Jones, he's got some, he's making all that money. He's got some handlers telling him what he can't do. So we know that, but all these people that are CIA agents and being paid without really proving it, it's just way overused, and it gets so annoying. And then of course there was that recent crap with that Joseph Doherty or whatever his name was. Just, that guy annoyed me. That guy annoyed me the crap out of me. And that's when he was around. I wouldn't watch any of his videos. I'd watch one and then two. I'm like, I can't watch this guy. So it's no surprise. He was out there trying to put himself in the middle of a lot of stuff. And then he tried to exit and put himself in the middle of more stuff. I'm not surprised by that. That guy just annoyed me, and whatever, just another person that I didn't watch. And I know some people talk about some pictures and some stuff that he was doing. And one of the things that annoys me is just the super Christian attitude and mentality. And I'm going to tell you that people that talk about it's all about love, Jesus is all about love, it just annoys me so much, because first of all, it's not true. If you want to talk about Jesus and what he's about, you have to read the Bible. I mean, how many times did Jesus talk about love? Well, a lot less than, that guy said in one sentence. So if you want to know what Jesus was about, it's about the kingdom of God. He was about the kingdom and doing God's work. That's what it was. It's not about love, because if you saw some of the crap he did, he was a little bit hateful towards people. I mean, think about the non-Jewish woman that he called a dog and said she didn't deserve his help. Is that love? Go ahead and ignore that one. Like, oh, well, he was just testing her faith. Oh, right. So it's okay to call that woman a dog according to your hippie Christian love, and saying that she didn't deserve his help. So I'm not saying that, not saying anything bad about Jesus. I'm just saying that people's perspective on Christianity, the world, the Bible, and Jesus is really skewed. Got through the hippie movement love lens that's kind of never gone away. But anyway, can talk about religion and Jesus if you want, but which, by the way, we should be calling him Joshua if we want to give Jesus an English name, because that's really what his name would be in English, is Joshua, just like the other Jesuses in the Bible. In the Old Testament, their names are translated as Joshua. Yeah, spooky. Just mentioned all the fear porn. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Early on, I followed Alex Jones, and I was like literally scared all the time that some like I no joke, like there was gonna be some black ops or police or something jumping out of hiding behind bushes trying to get me or something like no joke. Yeah, tinfoil hat or Yeshua. That's right. Um, Yeshua is the would have been the name, or Yehoshua, or um, Yehoshua. So somewhere along that line, and because that's one of the things I was thinking about um, with Joshua. It's interesting that the English translation is Joshua, and just thinking about the name Yahash or Yahshua or Yehoshua or something like that. So there's that similarities that would make sense for sure. So anyway, back to Alex Jones. Uh, yeah, he drives that fear all the time, and um, tries to push sales basically off all of his stuff. I mean, it's yeah. So I had to stop watching Alex Jones, and I've seen in the past where people have said the same thing about being afraid, like really living in a lot of fear that they're driving in their car or they're walking, always afraid of that police officer that's nearby, or there's going to be some police officer out to get him, which generally for most of the population that's not gonna happen, not at all. Now we do see today that there's a lot of things going on with the police, and really, I mean, it's still a small number of situation that's happening compared across the country, but there's still a lot of unfortunate situations that happen, and a lot of ridiculous things that take place with people getting beat up and harassed. And if you yell at the police officer, he's going to arrest you. Like, where does that crap come from? Like, you should be able to yell at the police and cuss them out if you want to, as long as you don't threaten them or you know try to bring physical harm on them. It's the way it's supposed to be. That there's just nothing that they can do or say. They could just walk away. But got a lot of got a lot of people that want to join the force with their big egos and want to bully people, and then you have a lot of military people that join the force. They come from maybe wars or wherever where they kind of do what they want out there in the other countries, and they got the big guns, harass people. So I guess, yeah, I guess you left, which is good because I know you have a problem with what I say, but you follow Dave Johnson, freaking weirdo, or maybe you are Dave Johnson. So it looks like you got some cool videos here, this Isa. So definitely, we'll have to check out some of the stuff that you have, and the Verrazzano Bridge, when they measured it for curvature. So if you use the math with the lean that they say they have, I mean it's accurate as far as the lean. But when you look at the picture of the Verrazzano Bridge, like there's no curvature on the water underneath. So how are you measure? How are they measuring for curvature when you don't see any curvature? And one of my thoughts about the bridge and curvature is that in less than a mile, I think the curvature was 6 inches. Do you really need to lean have a lean outwards of one of these towers for 6 inches? I mean, they could have made adjustments in the base for 6 inches to keep this thing level. That's my thought, that they didn't have to put a lean in there for 6 inches of curvature. They could have just leveled it out, adding the extra 6 inches to one side. That just seems ridiculous to me. Also, Jay isn't Dave Johnson, because I saw he had a video on there. Maybe it was Dave Johnson's video calling him Jeranism Jerry. Just ridiculous. Just, oh my gosh, all the crap that goes on. So early on, because there's a lot of people that have joined in, but early on I talked about the flat Earth propaganda. So you can, if you're wanted to see what that was about, you can see that, and just basically just disinfo that people share. They'll share it as truth or as fact, and how that, one, it's harmful, but two, as far as like propaganda goes, yeah, it can be used to get people to investigate the flat Earth. But if they think it's fact and they're investigating that, then what happens is when they finally find out that their facts really aren't facts, then some people fall away. Some people never find out. They keep sharing it. Pretty much look like idiots, which is not good for people who are trying to show that the flat Earth as being something that's something serious to really be investigated. And so, as far as like tinfoil thinking it's flat, optically it's flat, and that's what David Wolf. I don't know who David Wolf is. I think he might be a I don't know if he's like a new age type person, a vegan person. He said optically it's flat. We don't know what the shape is, and absolutely agree. It looks like it's flat to me. And so, of course, and everybody's got their they have their things like, well, it looks flat because you can't detect curvature. So with my eyes, I can't detect curvature, so it looks absolutely flat. I would say level, because it looks level, even though I don't have a way to measure level. I used to travel quite a bit, like at least once a year or so. And I was on a plane, and I'd fly out to the East Coast and fly over the water, and I never really paid attention. But I mean, looking over the ocean, it always looked, just flat and just far out there. And I'd fly, like through like Houston or wherever, and fly over the ocean down there. And once I started looking at the flat Earth early last year, it started to make sense. As like, yes, so the waters always looked flat as far as I could see. And when you're flying in a plane, I mean, the plane, it's pretty high up there, so you can see pretty far. I mean, how far can you see? At least 20 miles, maybe 30 miles, maybe 40 miles. I'm not sure, because I haven't really flown to be able to, lately I haven't flown to be able to pinpoint things, to see, where things are. Actually, that's not true. I did fly last year, and I wasn't sitting by the window. I wasn't prepared to pull out my camera and take some shots. So when I was flying, I knew where I was, and I knew some objects that I was looking at, but so I was looking at, I think, at least 12, 15 miles at the objects, but I could see far beyond that, and I was assuming that at least 20 miles I could see, and it just looked flat level as far as I could see. And then just seeing some of the different experiments people have done that seem to definitely point to a flat Earth. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we see people do, we have to take it on faith that they're doing what they say until we do our own, or if we're involved in it. And I don't know how to say your name. It's something Isabella, so I'll just call you Isabella. And that's true too. Don't ever see any sort of curvature with the sun. Should see some sort of curving with the when we see the sun's reflection in the water, and we don't see that, and the curve of the Earth has to curve. And keep in mind, the Earth has to curve away from us in all directions. So when people talk about seeing curve, they always think about seeing the horizon curve. I don't look to the horizon. I look to, I'm a point, and in all directions away from me, there has to be curving. Do I see any sort of curving? And I never do. So optically, yes, that's it's all looks curved. It all looks flat to me. And now, Isabel, you also mentioned that the horizon um, rises to your eye level, and so I know that's shared a lot, and I wonder about that, and I think about that. At what point should we have a noticeable drop in in the horizon when we look? How high do we have to get before we have a noticeable drop? So that's one thing with that claim that I'm not so sure about. So I understand what's being said. The horizon will always rise to eye level. Yeah, and so Spooky mentions about the island can see 30 miles away. So there are people who do experiments where, yeah, they're seeing the they're seeing land, they're seeing the base of the land where they shouldn't be able to see it, and so that's why it's important for people to be able to do their own experiments. Because when you can do your own experiments and you can see, okay, I'm here, that point that I'm looking at is over there, that's this distance away. When I went to a lake, I didn't have like a lot of lakes close by to be able to do this, but I went to a lake perfectly still, and one side of the lake was 5 miles away from the 5 miles away from me, and I was looking all the way across, and it just looks so flat. There should have been I believe the curve between me and that point should have been 5 to 6 feet high, and I didn't see anything. Now they say, oh, how would you be able to detect a curve 5 to 6 feet high? Or is it 2 feet high and the drop of curve was 5 or 6? I don't remember exactly what it was. Like, how would you be able to know that that curve was there or not if it was only 2 feet or 5 feet? I mean, it's a good question to ask, just for proof. But I mean, if you can't see any curve and you can see light from the sun that just shines all the way across, I mean, it would have to be cut off at some point. Now they might say that, well, the light, because it can bend with refraction, it could go over the curve. Well, good, because then you should see curve. I should see that sunlight having some sort of bending over the curve. Yeah, and it is. Tinfoil mentions frustrating that we can't really get far, and it is. I'd like to think of more things to be able to do. And ODD, you mentioned that. Let's see, Kerbal Space Program out, so we'll look that. Or is that program? I assume you're talking about program. And I'm not sure exactly where you live, ODD, but I was just up in your area for Thanksgiving. I think you live up near Denver. Oh man, that was got the first time being out there in Colorado. That was pretty amazing. I went up to Buffalo Bill's gravesite, and that was just pretty, just amazing view all the way across Denver. And what you can see is the perspective from the Earth rising up. And oh man, that was just so amazing. We went over to the Red Rocks and looking out over there. Just got to travel around there a little bit, just visiting some family. So that was pretty amazing, and just such great views from there. And like my wife and I, we look, and we'll just go with optics, you know, just perspective from what we see. But it all just looks flat all the way across. Yeah, I could see past the white balls, and I forget. I think it's. Am I right in thinking that it was about 20 miles? Let's see. It's the 20 miles across. Let's maps. Yeah, you can see really far. Let's look at Denver. My wife's uncle lives in the mountains, and we can see out his window of his kitchen. We can see all the way across Denver. Although we are looking between some mountains, so it was very small space that we could see. Let's see. Crap. If I can find the Buffalo Bill grave. Oh, here we go. Buffalo Bill grave, Lookout Mountain. So we are here. And we were seeing, I need to change this. Gosh, so it was past Aurora, 470. There's that airport. I think it was somewhere around here. Let's see. Let's just check this distance. So like this out here is like 28 miles. So yeah, you can see somewhere, I can't really remember, you can see somewhere out here, out in this area, or possibly out here, because it looks like this is elevated. So anywhere upwards of, let's say 25 to 36 miles. Because when you're standing out here on this mountain, there's like, you can see like this brown like hill or whatever that surrounds it. So it might be this brown hill. So we're definitely seeing upwards of about 35, 36 miles. And let's say as low as about 25 miles. So seeing out there really far. And that's let's see where the red rocks are. No, not Red Lobster. I'm going to see Red Rock. Okay, so Red Rocks is a little bit closer, a little shorter distance, but you can see where both of these are located at. Oh, went too far out. Okay, so Kerbal Space Program supposed to be, oh, I see. So it's supposed to be accurate. Okay. That's interesting. I'll have to, oh, do I have to buy that program? Oh, so you ADR mentions about the Verrazzano bridge, a suspension bridge, meaning depending on main cable tension, holds the roadway up. The towers actually move. Yes. you mentioned the same thing. There was another gentleman, I haven't seen him around in a long time. He mentioned that. He said when people were talking about this, he said it has nothing to do with curvature. It is the suspension cables. So you are confirming exactly what he is saying. Let's look this up. Because like for me, people use this as proof. And I was like, that's so ridiculous that you get excited over this in less than 1.6 miles. Let me see here. There was the website. See if I can find it. Wasn't this one? There was a. Was it this one? DNA info. No, this isn't it. Oh man, I can't. Oh, here it is. This one right here. web.mta.info. So this is the one that talks about, let me close some of these tabs because my computer will start getting all jacked up. 1 and 5 inches further apart at their tops and at their bases because the 4,260-foot distance between them made it necessary to compensate for the Earth's curvature. So people use this website as proof. Oh, yep, look, curvature, had to do it. Like seriously, they could have leveled that out. They did not have to do that. So yeah, I mean, some of us have been mocking that. It's because it's ridiculous. And that made sense to me as far as for the tension, pull that back a little bit. But curvature doesn't make sense at all. Aquarius, Colorado guy. Yeah, and so water, I mean, water line flat. I know people are playing off of that. Water isn't always flat. If you have a drop, it's a circle, or changes shapes as it falls. It doesn't always have to be circled. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it definitely seems to be the from what I see that it's just flat. I was watching this Homestead Alaskan TV show, and it was fascinating because one of the things they said was that they use the horizon of the water to level out if they're running any sort of like wire string, things like that between two objects. They will use the horizon that they can see of the water to level it because the horizon's always level. Now it could be said that well, with such a small distance that they are using between the two objects, yeah, it would be level. There's always the counter, but yeah, Isabella, and I agree that a drop of water in the air is different than water lying on the ground. But keep in mind that that there is surface tension. Let me show you. Water can curve even when it's laying flat. Let me show you an example of that, because you can see this with your own experiment. Here's a perfect example. So this water here curves because of, now this is surface tension, and some people say that you can do this with any sort of object. You can make water curve, and of course it's an extreme curve at the very end, at the very edge of the water, so you don't have curving in the middle. Some say that it only works within a certain size object. Anything larger than that, it won't work. Like for example, there was someone saying with a baby pool or kiddie pool you can fill it up and get surface tension. Some say no, it's too that's too big. It won't work for anything that big. Here's some surface tension we see with a swimmer during the Olympics. Got that surface tension over his body. But with the water laying flat, I mean, there are small exceptions, but what we're talking about, what you're talking about is, um, bodies of water. So if we had surface tension in the body of water, it would have to be seen on the edge. But yeah, hopefully the water never gets big enough or high enough to where it reaches the top of the rim of the ice. Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want it to reach top of the ice, so that way we can see would water that goes down to Alaska, would that get a surface tension on the edge? That would be a bad idea. Yeah, exactly. Surface tension is minute, but of course, people say that they want to bring that in as an argument against water being level. So one of the things I've been thinking about, how can I do an experiment on land? Because we can do experiments over water, but then they start talking about refraction over water and things like that. So how can I do an experiment over land? And just trying to think of ways to be able to level land. So like, for example, if you're working with sand, you can create a 8-inch drop over a mile. What do you think about taking sand over a mile and trying to level that out to, and I say level out, but flatten it to go from your point to a mile out and have an 8-inch drop? Talk about a huge project. And being able to realistically being able to see this is what it would look like, or go 2 miles and have more drop 3 miles. So that's like a huge project. And I think it would be a fascinating project to get a realistic look of what the drop over distance should look like. So it takes some measurements and things like that to get it correct. So I've thought about things like that. Yeah, I mean, altitude, being able to get really high and being able to look down on things would, I mean, that's a really big thing. That's a really big thing as well. I just don't think we'll ever really get high enough. There's a lot of technology coming out too with the drones and everything, where you're able to get high and see things that may not been able to see before. But we got hot air balloons, which can get I don't know how pricey that is to keep sending balloons up, and then they get lost or whatever. Which I guess you could always lose a drone real easy if you get up too high. So as far as about asking about the sun experiments, which sun experiments are you referring to? One of the difficult things about from what I'm seeing more now with the sky experiments, looking at the celestial objects, is that with Dr. Zach and Rendra AZ, both have been talking about is refraction. If we really do have refraction, then we may not be seeing the true objects. We are seeing the refracted objects. So I'm not sure what experiments that we're discussing here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Rendra AZ. What the hell? Um, Maybe I've got the name wrong. Oh, here we are. Wait a second. What just happened here? Oh, maybe this person took that video from Rendra AZ. Okay. Oh man, no, you've got to be freaking kidding me. Jeez. Okay, well, can't see Rendra AZ's videos on the refraction. You have Dr. Zach's. Dr. Zach, he has been doing the videos and just talking about the flat Earth refraction experiments. And so he talks about the refraction and not really seeing um, the objects. We're seeing a refracted object. Let's see, Rendra. I don't know if any of these are the same person or if these are different people, because that was a really good video I saw. No, these aren't going to be the same that I was looking for. So if we use a sextant and we're doing measurements, then basically we are measuring the object that we're seeing. So if we're seeing a refracted object, not the actual object, then we are measuring the refraction. So what I'm measuring is going to give me certain measurements. What you measure may give you certain measurements. What someone in other locations might give them something different, just because of the refracted. Now, let's say that these objects are being refracted, then you've got the situation where people proving the globe could say, well, even though the sun and moon are this far away, because of refraction, those objects are being refracted in like they're close. So that's why I'm not so sure about measuring the objects. And Dr. Zach was talking about this because he was trying to create a map based on measuring the sun, measurements to the sun. I did there's a video, let me see. Oops, that's where I wanted to go. So the answer to the question is, can you measure the sun? Yes, you can do measurements to the sun. And I'm going to show you an example that was done with the moon. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen this video, the ISS spacewalk drops tool bag seen from flat Earth, pretty hilarious. Yeah, it's a pretty funny one. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. So here's this video that I did, and let this play just a little bit. Let's. Okay, I'll need to let it play. So Red Rhetoric did this video saying Jeranism flat wrong part 1, and with this video, I got a little bit of propaganda in there. Just be warned, because at the time I was, I remember this is July 2015, kind of going with the emotionalism that I talked about earlier. Just stating facts that well, if I see a building in the distance and the Earth is curved, then I should see the buildings leaning back. Well, I've kind of counteracted that now. So there are some things in there. Now with this, Red Rhetoric gave us the formula used to measure the moon. It was him and another girl, and they did the measurements to prove that the moon is 238,000 miles away, or whatever it was. So what I did is I reviewed the video, and then I said, well, wait a second. You have to start with the assumption that the Earth is a globe in order to prove this. So he adds in the assumption to the equation that the Earth is a globe to get the fact that the moon is 238,000 miles away. So what I did is I removed the assumption, which was a kind of part of the calculation formula. I removed the assumption that the Earth is a globe, and that turns out that the moon really was about 3,000 miles away. So in this video, is Jeranism Flat Wrong Part 1, the distance to the moon, I talk about that. How to, you can take your two distances and plug that in, and then be able to see if how far away the object is. My assumption is when I look at the moon and I look at the sun, they look about the same size to me. I don't see a whole lot of difference. My assumption is that it's going to be approximately 3,000 to 4,000 miles away based on measurements taken, because that's what it was for the moon. So yeah, that can definitely be done, but it's hard to really base as facts. So it's kind of one of those things like, okay, let's put this towards, all right, so here's something we've got towards proving it, not like absolute proof. And so back to, I was thinking about experiments. Let's see what happens if I do this. Okay. So some experiments I've been thinking about, I mentioned the sand, just having ground that's easy to manipulate to try to, one, have an example of this is what it looks like if the Earth is curved. Because then that way, if you're able to replicate that, you can look at it and see, all right, this is what it looks like. Can we really see this? Can we really detect curve? Because that would put a stop to it. Now, you could also do this on regular ground, but now you're dealing with dirt that's probably not soft, compacted, and so it can be doable. It just got to work in dirt. Another thing, the political hillbilly had me thinking about some things where he was using elevation and showing that when you have elevation, elevation has to curve. So if you're at 1,000 feet elevation, then 1,000 feet elevation 1 mile away is going to be 1,000 feet elevation, but you have to have an 8-inch drop from point A to point B. So then just start thinking about, well, how can you take distance and be able to show whether there's an 8-inch drop or not? And so Political Hillbilly has done that many times with a visual representation of that. So in, let's see, let's do this. So if we do 8 inches times, let's do 8 inches times, there's 1 mile times by 1 mile, which we know what this is. I mean, it's a ridiculous equation to do. All right, so we got 8 inches per 1 mile. But what if we do 0.5? So now we've got 2 inches of drop in a half a mile. So we have to see a 2-inch drop, and of course, being able to try to measure that is going to be important. What about of a quarter mile? So if we can shrink our distances down, so we'd have to see a half-inch drop, which now we're getting to numbers that are getting really small. It's like, okay, so you've got to be able to, really fine-tune it. And in a quarter of a mile, we need to see half-inch drop. So I've just been thinking of ways to get some sort of level object, get it over a distance, and then being able to try to detect, that object with that elevation. Does it drop? Does it curve? So that's just some things I've been thinking about. Maybe I give you guys some ideas of maybe some experiments that can be done And so yeah, I'm basing that off of Political Hillbilly. So and like I mentioned before, I like the stuff that he does, just because he's using facts. He's like, let's look at the facts. Let's look at the angles. Let's look at the elevation. Let's really, look at the math, and I guess if you want to call it the science. And he's absolutely against the pseudoscience. So that's one reason why I really like him, not getting into all the emotionalism. And I don't know, it seems to be a little hard to kind of go up against him, and I don't want to say debates, but kind of arguments, discussion. So I've seen some of the stuff he has discussed with people, like recently Flat Earth Math, discussing the eclipse and showing the eclipse that, let's look at that. So he's saying that the eclipse coming up absolutely proves that the sun and the moon are close, and it is absolutely not a globe. So you've got let's see, flat Earth, solar eclipse proves the Earth does not. You've got this one. So you've got the latest 5 videos where you can check those out. Oh no, I didn't want to look at this one. Hold on. So yeah, they talk about some things, like in this video, they're talking about some anomalies that happen with time zones, how they don't seem to line up right with different locations. Let's see, was it this one? So anyway, you can watch these. Just really, really interesting to see about the eclipse and how they're showing the shadow. There's this one image it was showing, and with the shadow, it was not being hidden at all by curvature. And Political Hillbilly was really pointing out that absolutely should have been hidden by curvature. That's not the one I wanted. Gosh, where is this? Can't find it. I'm pretty sure. It wasn't this one. There was another one that they were sharing. Where are you? Where are you? Oh, here we are. Need to close that. It's making my computer start to run slow. All right, so this one they were discussing this and showing that, well, first off, this is an animation of what the eclipse shadow should look like, and that the shadow is not being blocked out by curvature whatsoever. And then it's kind of funny, if you look at this, I assume this is a representation of the moon, this little dot, and it kind of like zooms in real fast and then zooms out, so they're kind of making fun of that as well. But so they've been having a lot of discussion about this, that absolutely this cannot work on the globe. So that's something fascinating to check out. Yeah, so I'm that's what I'm thinking about, some other experiments to do. Some things that are a little different, and so hopefully that's some things that can be done. I guess you could also do some sort of experiment with snow. I guess I could, depending on the kind of snow you have, it might be soft enough where you could try to do that. But then it's cold, and then they would say, oh, there's refraction off of the snow because it's reflective and got all that moisture. So who knows? Who knows? But I'm always excited for more discoveries and experiments. So does anyone have any experiments that they've thought up that might be good ones that are doable? See if anybody's got anything in chat that you can share. So we saw the mountain of evidence. We saw the laser test that Dave and Dr. Zach and various people were doing. So some cool experiments that were done. Yeah, someone mentioned that getting stung by a bullet ant is not good. I've never heard of these before, and it wasn't until the other day that I started seeing this video. I was like, what is that thing? I mean, I've been bit by fire ants, but that's quite different. Oh, let's see. Do we have anything else going on? GeoShifter, I haven't seen any cat videos lately from you. So I don't know how many hangouts and videos I'm gonna do. I mentioned in the beginning I've just been really busy. Just been busy with my job and busy with working on a career path change that should be happening here in the next few months. So do something that I enjoy more, make more money, have a more in-demand job. So that's what I'm working on, and once I get that job, then I won't have to work on some of these side projects as much as I am now. So looking forward to that. I've been working on this for many years. And so it looks like it's going to come to pass here pretty soon. So just looking to do web development for anyone that's curious what I've been doing, working on. Doing web development. Once I get better, seems to be it's going to be a lot of work, but I don't know if anyone started working on it. I'd like to work on a Google Maps, but have like a just kind of do like some sort of flat Earth Google Maps where you can use projections on there, have the ISS flying around on the flat Earth, or for GeoShifter we could have this cat flying around over a flat Earth projection. See anything else? I mean, it's kind of quiet in chat. I don't have a lot of, I don't really have any more to talk about. We've talked about a lot, and oh geez, I've really been going for like 2 hours now. I wasn't planning on that, but just with the engagement, just started, just having engagements and talking and sharing and bringing up thoughts. So it went way longer than I planned, and I skipped lunch. I need to eat lunch still. But yeah, I mean, if we don't have anything else, any other things to talk about, it's always enjoyable just kind of hanging out and chat and just. So I haven't really talked to Tinfoil Hat Girl in a while, and GeoShifter and ODD, and I don't know if I've ever really talked to. Is it Tinfoil Hatter? So I don't think I've ever. Yeah, Tinfoil Hat. I've seen you around. I don't think I've ever really talked to you. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it's good to be able to see people that I've watched their videos and just get to chat and just kind of get caught up and everything that's been going on. All right. Yeah, I mean, I hope to do more in the future, and we'll just have to see what just see what kind of stuff I want to discuss. I mean, because there's a lot of hangouts going on right now. So when I do I definitely want it to be something of value, and just don't want to really do hangouts just to do hangouts because everyone else is doing hangouts, or just to do hangouts to talk about all the crap going on. Because there's plenty of those, and while it's kind of ridiculous, ridiculous at times. Sometimes it's a little comical, and just, but need to have some hangouts where you actually get to accomplish some things. All right, everyone. Patricia's been unpacking in her new place of living, just listening to hangouts. I haven't talked to Patricia in a long time either. Just been kind of, I just kind of creep around and just do the same kind of thing, listen to people's videos, just seeing what's going on, new discoveries, what people are learning, and then I guess the exposés going on that people think need to happen. A lot of craziness. So hopefully we can get back to kind of some of the things that's happening now, is like what the eclipse just proven or disproven, whether it works or doesn't work on the flat Earth or globe Earth. So definitely a lot of fascinating things. I hope to see more experiments coming out, and let me know if you come up with any experiment ideas that we can maybe start planning on doing some things. I might have to get with Political Hillbilly just to kind of discuss. So maybe he's got some ideas, since he was, I don't know if he was like carpentry, plumbing, or just plumbing, or what it was, but I know he was in that field. So maybe discuss some ideas with him of some things that we can all do, and see how things turn out. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and, well, I have to stop the hangout, but I've got to figure out how to do that, because, let's see, is it under live events? Oh, wait, I do have this open, don't I? Stop broadcast. All right, goodbye, everyone, and talk to you guys later, and stop by and say hi for sure.